Greentech Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Manish Jain or Mr. Jain, and you're watching Electric Avenue. This is episode number 18. Damn, I've been doing this now for a year and a half, and this is the May 2024 wrap up. And as usual, we got 4 topics we're going to cover. We're going to go over the monthly registration numbers. Then we're going to talk about any recent EV news. Sadly, again, because of the Indian elections, has been pretty slow during the month of May. The election results were announced in early June. So hopefully the next update next month for June will have a lot of stuff. And then we're going to do a little EV car spotting. In this case, it's actually not going to be a car. It's going to be a bus by Olectra, which will be kind of interesting when we talk about the deep dive. And the deep dive is something that I didn't think I would be covering anytime soon, but it is the Chinese EVs in India. And I actually thought people knew that there were Chinese EVs already in this country, but I was wrong. So I will talk a little bit about the companies that are available or that are actually shipping product in India that are, Chinese owned, and their EVs that are on the roads of Bombay or the roads of India as we speak. So as usual, let's just get into monthly numbers right now. All right, let's dive into the numbers. And as usual, I'm getting all my data from EV Reporter. They seem to have the most concise information and, more importantly, the most timely. They don't wait for like another couple weeks or 3 weeks into the month. They kind of report it right away. So here we go. So this is for May 2024, the second month of the new financial year here in India. And as you can see, the electric two-wheelers, once again, just nailing it at around 76,000 units. And here, if you look at the cars, only 7,500 units. And of course, we'll dig in more into the cars. But yeah, that's always the big discrepancy, is two-wheelers versus four-wheelers. And if you look at it, Ola Electric is the 800-pound gorilla in the two-wheel space. I think they call these the scooters that have some sort of speed, or they go much faster. So they're the fast scooters versus the slow ones. And as you can see, the growth in Ola Electric's 30% year-over-year growth, month over month 10%. So doing very well, and it's only going to get more and more for Ola Electric. I think they just announced that they got SEBI approval for their IPO, so that's going to be happening very, very soon. So that's something else we can talk about next month when it finally hits the NSE and the BSE that are listing. Now, if we go down, we'll take a look at the four-wheel segment. This is what the passenger vehicles. If you look at it, there's been kind of a drop actually. I think Tata Motors for the last, towards the end of the financial year of 2024, they were doing around 6,000 or 7,000 units per month, but here it's dropped to like 5,000. So totally, they've got 7,500 units across the board. And within Tata Motors, they've only got 5,000 units, MG at 1,400. And, just down the list, BYD 160, BMW 72, and other, that is a combination of the 3 companies. They are usually Porsche, Audi, and I cannot remember the other one. There's another one. So those are the 3. So honestly, not much at 9 units. So really nothing to write home about. But as you can see, even from April to May, there's been a slight dip, percentage-wise only 1%, but still there's not a lot of sales, as you can see, compared to the two-wheel segment. And then here we are. These are the buses that are sold in India. And the reason why I'm going to be covering this month is because when we get to the Chinese EVs, you'll kind of see where BYD fits in all of this. So here you go. I mean, it's not much. If you look at May, a total of 220 buses were sold across the country. So very few. You've got electromobility, you've got Tata Motors with 46. Then you've got Olectra Greentech, which we're going to talk about more. That's at 34 units. That's the BYD partnership. And then you've got Pinnacle Mobility, which is actually, I think, based out of Pune. And then you've got Switch Mobility, which is the tie-up with the Ashok Leyland Group, and that's the Hinduja Group family. And so that's kind of it for the bus sales and electric vehicles. And then I thought this was kind of a very cool graphic they had for in this month, and they kind of talked about from the last financial year of 23-24. They talked about the top selling states for EVs in India, and actually I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize that UP actually had the number one. I always thought it was Maharashtra for some reason. But I guess that's obviously a combination of a lot of two-wheel sales in the scooter segment. And then, of course, you go all the way down the line, down to 70, almost 79,000 in Delhi. But pretty good map. And of course, we're missing a bunch of these states. So, of course, that means the Vahan information wasn't available. But overall, number one is UP with EV sales for FY 23-24. And that's a wrap up on the number of sales in India for May 2025. So we're at the news, and as I had mentioned, because of the Indian elections, there's not much in May. So there's a big nothing, but actually that's not technically correct. There is one piece of news. So the NSE launched a new EV index. So, people always wonder what are indexes, what do they do? So really, a stock market index is a basket of companies that kind of represents a specific industry. So typically when you have a stock market index, like let's say the Nifty or the Sensex, that's tracking the entire country, the overall growth of, let's say, the top 30 companies, the top 50 companies. So that's always been, a market index for many, many, many years, probably the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years. But in the last 20, 30 years, they've started coming out what they call sectoral indexes. So this way, if you've got a fund manager that is tracking only the EV industry, it doesn't make sense for him to be comparing his performance versus, let's say, the broader Sensex or Nifty. So they've come out with these sectoral indexes. And the first one was just launched for the EV industry. And that is done by NSE. So I think it's called NSE Indexes is the name of the company. I'm not really sure. But, if you take a look at it, what it is I'm going to read this verbatim. The Nifty EV and New Age Automotive Index aims to track the performance of companies which form a part of the EV ecosystem or are involved in the development of new age automotive vehicles or related technology. So that's the idea. So if you're a fund manager and you only want to track the EV space and you feel like you can do better than the index, that's kind of your benchmark. And so here it talks a little bit about they kind of took a base from April 2nd, 2018, and they gave it a base of 1,000. But anyways, the real big thing that you want to know is, how many, companies are in there. So in fact, there are 33 companies in the index. And I said they've taken a base date of 2018, just recently launched, and then they do a index rebalancing semi-annually. And if you take a look at the weightage, automotive and automobile components, 72%. Obviously, this is involving new energy vehicles. Then you've got IT, chemicals, capital goods. So that's kind of how the different sectors are. And then the real big thing is you want to take a look at but the real sauce here is you want to know what is made up of it. So if you look at the top, Bajaj Auto is the biggest in this index at 7%. Then you got Tata Motors, Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki, Exide, Bosch, and down the list. So you're kind of wondering, well, wait a minute, where are the real, EV companies in there? And that's kind of the issue that I have with this index is they've put in a lot of names. And what you'll really find interesting is if you go all the way down here, you've got, of course, Reliance is here. Reliance is pretty much in every index because they do so much. But these are the full 33 companies that are there, as you can see all the way. And so there's, of course, information technology like Tata Alexi. They do a lot of infotainment systems, things like that. Not necessarily just for EVs, but it's in the automotive industry. So that was kind of the big news as far as the EV industry is concerned. Is now there is a specific index just for this sector, and I'm guessing you're going to see more and more managers saying, "Hey, we've got an EV portfolio. We're going to outperform the benchmark. Come give us your money, and it'll do better than the returns of the overall index." So buyer beware. I would say this is just another way to measure the growth of the industry, that we've got a sectoral index for the EV market, which is great. And that's really it on the news side. Like I said, there ain't much. I'm hoping in June there's going to be a lot more information coming out. But that's a wrap on the news for May 2024. All right, next on the docket is number 3, and this is EV car spotting. Yeah, again, this is not a car, this is a bus. And as you know, I am a huge fan of exotic supercars, hypercars. So this is not the first thing I wanted to really talk about, but I figured since I'm going to be talking about BYD in the deep dive, I thought, let's, show a picture of what a BYD bus looks like. So this was taken, I believe, in Nutterman Point, this picture. And here you can see that it's got Olectra is the name, which is a division of MEIL. And this company, MEIL, has a tie-up with BYD for technical sharing of information. We'll get into that more in the deep dive, but this is, one of the many buses that I do see that are green EV buses all over Bombay. The other one that I see a lot of are the switch buses from the Hinduja group, but I have seen more and more of these Olectras. And the minute you start looking for them, you're like, oh my God, they're actually taking over. And if you take a look at it, the license plate, the registration number is MH01EM 1005. So EM is one of the newer series. So this is a very new bus that is just got put on the road, and it goes by the name of the Olectra eBuzz K9D. I got to tell you, that is the most uninspiring model number designation, but you know what? It's a bus, so who gives a shit? Anyways, that is EV car spotting. All right, people, we are in the home stretch, and today's deep dive is around Chinese EVs in India. And it's so funny because every time I do a deep dive, I'm like, oh my God, this is the best damn one I've done so far. And I can actually say this one is one of the best ones I've done so far, if not the best, because there's so much misinformation around Chinese EVs in India. So I thought I would take the time and discuss all the EVs in India, but then I decided maybe let me just take each company one by one. And so this all started because I put up a tweet X, not Twitter because it's changed the name. I put up a picture of a BYD seal that I saw back, as you can see here, back in May 22nd, and this actually has been my highest engagement post ever on Twitter. And so I was like, okay, there must be something there. And so I thought, okay, maybe people are just interested. But what was amazing is the comments were literally one after the other going, oh my God, I didn't know Chinese ones were allowed in India. And that's when I'm like, wow, people didn't realize that? I'm surprised. So like I said, this comment was really, really surprising to see. If you take a look at this comment, I was really shocked to see that what? Chinese ones are allowed in India? And the answer is yes, they are. So I thought I would go through all of the EV companies in India. So as of May 2024, there are actually 3 Chinese brands that are selling product in India. The first one is BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams, which is, completely Chinese owned. The second is Volvo, although I know it's a Swedish brand, people think, but it's actually majority owned by Geely, which is a Chinese company. And the third is MG, or Moore's Garage, which of course was a British brand, but got bought over by got bought over by SAIC, or SAIC, which also is a Chinese company. So the last 2 are Chinese companies that are taking, old brands that have some sort of brand recall and kind of redoing them with Chinese EV technology. So I thought I was going to cover all 3 of them, but then when I dug into the first one, BYD, I realized, wow, there is a lot of stuff happening with BYD in India. And the funniest damn thing, I couldn't believe it, is BYD has been operating in India since 2007. That kind of blew my mind. I was like, even I didn't realize that. So they first came into India focusing on just selling their batteries and components. And that's how they first came to India. And I got a lot of the information from, the Ministry of, ROC, the Registry of Corporate Finance, Registry of Companies. And so here you can actually see, BYD. Let me just highlight this so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But if you look at it, you can see here BYD India Private Limited was incorporated on March 2007. So they have been around a while, but of course, very much behind the scenes. So as I said, they first started their operations selling electronics and then they later expanded into other areas. So now my guess is they've been selling, like I said, battery packs, components, and my guess is maybe they've even been doing some R&D out here, maybe doing some, probably, even though they've got a huge, team in China, they may have a team here in India as well, just kind of getting market knowledge. And so that's from 2007 to now 2013. So the first part of business was just selling components, that's it. Now the second piece was coming to India and selling buses. So you can actually see this is a picture from 2013 in the state of Karnataka, and here you have got a bus that has got full BYD badging. So that is 2013. And here I again pulled up some information. This is a form number MGT7 and talks about what companies do. So if you take a look at this one, they actually were doing manufacturing and doing trade. So they kind of do a breakdown of how much is what. So manufacturing of motor vehicles and trailers and other transport vehicles was 21% of their revenue. Wholesale trading was 10%, and the rest 70% was computer, electronic communication, and scientific measuring and control equipment, whatever the hell that is. But they have been in this country for a long time. So again, the name of the company is BYD India Private Limited. And if you go down here, who actually owns BYD India Private Limited is, of course, a company called Lead Wealth International Limited, which, no surprises, is a BVI company, British Virgin Island company. So that's kind of how they've structured the company. So that was 2013. The first BYD buses were on the grounds in India. And then in 2015, they actually got into a technical partnership with Olectra Greenwich Limited, which is traded on the NSE and BSE, and that's the NSE code. And it's a part of MEIL, which is Mega Engineering Infrastructure Limited. So Olectra, although it's listed on the exchanges, its name before it became Olectra was Goldstone Infrastructure, and before that was known as Goldstone Teleservices. So I'm guessing this must have been some sort of telecom unit, and then they kind of shut that business down, and that explains maybe why there was so much trading, communication stuff happening from BYD. That's 70%. I think it may be somewhere in here. I'm just speculating. I don't know. But anyways, it is now trading on the markets as Olectra, and that is their manufacturing partnership, BYD. And here's a stock chart, from the early 2020s, and you can kind of see pretty good growth. This was probably around 300 rupees a share, and has gone up to close to 1,800. And this was a month ago, so it's probably gone up even more. But anyways, Olectra, as you can see here, this is what they do. They are the leaders in, they say, next generation transportation technology. They have crafted a tie-up with BYD, strategic partnership. And what that entails, obviously only they know what that really means. And here is kind of where they've started from 2015 to 2021, where they had around 1,300 orders. Now, since 2021 to 2024, that's 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if this number has, gone much, much higher, maybe even double. I'm not sure, but maybe it's possible. And here are all the different customers. So this is BEST, that's Bombay. Then you've got Pune, then all the others, Nasik, Surat, and all the other municipalities that are using these EV buses. So, and then on one of the conference calls, someone asked, are you dependent on BYD for importing cells, battery cells, and other components? And right now that constitutes 25 to 40%. And then, so they say yes. So 60 to 70% is sourced, or is everything in Indian components. So they are saying that, close to 20 to 40% of their stuff comes from BYD. And so that's kind of, so it's not as much as I thought. So that's good to know. And here is the current product line. They've got buses, then they've got dump trucks, not too many, but they do have some what they call e-tippers. And then they talk about the different estimated ranges from anywhere from 150 to 300. So I would imagine these are probably more within the city, and these are, long distance going from city to city. So again, BYD buses have been around for quite some time. And then here's a little bit about, who is MEIL. It is, I think it's PP Reddy and PV Krishna Reddy. They kind of run it. So it was started in 1991, or it was started before that. And his nephew, PV Krishna Reddy, joined in 1991 and runs it. They've built it up into a massive company, if I'm not mistaken. Their net worth total is worth about $4 billion. So that's around 32,000 crore. So that ain't chump change, folks. So that is kind of it. So this is, like I said, the MEIL is the main company, and the subsidiary is Olectra Greentech. I think I might have mentioned it as Greenwich, but it's actually Greentech. And that's kind of a picture you've already seen this one. So that's the journey of the buses. Then in 2021, BYD came directly into India by importing the E6, which is basically a minivan, and this was only for fleet operators. So the one that everybody talks about is the e-cab service in Bangalore called Chauffeur. They use them, and nothing but rave reviews from them. And one of the reasons I love, the e-cabs is because they've actually got space in the trunk to put your luggage. I can't tell you how many times I get into a taxi in Bombay out of the airport and there's a fucking CNG cylinder in the back. Like, where the hell am I going to put my luggage, man? So, EVs way better to go. So this is an example of what an E6 looks like on the roads of Bombay. So that was 2021. Then in November 2022, they came with their second car, which is the BYD Atto, which is their SUV. And this is what the Atto 3 looks like. Rave reviews also. It's doing decently well. I'm not sure how many units they're selling. Of course, we're doing the monthly numbers, so it is some number, but the breakup of E6 versus Atto 3, I'm not sure. And then, of course, the thing that created this entire, like, oh my God, BYD is in India, is in 2024, they finally started delivering the BYD seals in India. And in one day, they delivered 200 BYDs, which I'm not surprised because the car looks amazing, the performance is amazing, the price is amazing. And so this is the tweet that really kind of went crazy, because this is a picture of a BYD seal. This is actually Kemp's Corner in South Bombay. And I was going for a walk and I saw it and I was like, whoa. So that is kind of the journey of BYD in India. Like I said, it's been around since 2007, operating very silently, and I expect more and more to happen. I'm just waiting for them to sign a deal with a local technical partner to actually start building or creating these kits for the passenger vehicles. Now, there was some talk of them setting up something down south, but then they got nixed. I'm guessing that's because they're waiting for the new EV policy that came out, and now they'll probably go in with a partner. It would make sense that they would partner with MEIL, but who knows? It could be anyone else. But that's kind of the history of BYD. And hope you enjoy this deep dive. Next month we'll talk about the other two companies. I'll get more information on them. But if you have any questions, let me know. But that's a wrap for this episode of Electric Avenue. Take care and see you next time.
Oh no, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take